2, 1, and we're live.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here this evening for the City of Flint Planning Commission. We'll start by calling the roll, please.
Commissioner Ryan? Commissioner Campbell?
Here.
Commissioner Bauer?
Commissioner Blauer, you are muted there.
Commissioner Bauer?
She's trying to unmute.
Okay.
Are you gonna get it? Ah! We'll come back.
Okay. Commissioner Jewell?
Here.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins?
Here.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Here.
Commissioner Jordan?
Here.
Commissioner Blauer?
Here, sorry about that.
Quite all right. We have a quorum. Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, I'm going to defer to Ms. Kelly Thompson for the member remote announcement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All boards and commissions must adhere to all laws established under the Michigan compiled laws and in accordance with the revisions of the Open Meetings Act adopted in Senate Bill 1108 as passed on October 13th, 2020 and signed into law on October 16th, 2020. A public announcement shall be made by each member who is attending the meeting remotely that he or she is attending the meeting remotely, and except for those in military service, stating his or her physical location. So Bill, if you could call the roll again, please.
Commissioner Ryan? Commissioner Campbell?
Commissioner Campbell appearing remotely in the city of Flint.
Commissioner Blauer?
Commissioner Blauer, I'm appearing remotely for my residence in Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Wesley? Commissioner Jewell?
This is Commissioner Jewell. I'm attending remotely from my residence in Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins?
Commissioner Cook Hawkins attending remotely in Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Commissioner Sorensen attending remotely from my home in Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Jordan?
Attending remotely from beautiful sunny Flint, Michigan. All right. With that, let's proceed to any additions or changes to the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing
Jordan?
none. Yes.
Commissioner Jordan? This is Bill. If we
Yes,
don't
Bill.
mind, under new business, can we move governor's orders on Opens Meeting Act with Kelly Thompson up underneath of reports, please?
Duly noted. So moving the new business governor's orders on the Open Meetings Act under reports. Any other additions or changes?
Is there a change regarding public hearings?
So my understanding is that one of the two public hearings will have to be postponed until our next meeting on April 13th. Although if there are any members of the public in attendance tonight because they were hoping to speak on that public hearing, typically in these situations, we have allowed them to speak during the public comment, the public forum period. So I will note that the public hearing PC 21398, which is a Group E special regulated use permit for adult use recreational marijuana at 2533 Richfield Road. That hearing is going to be postponed until April 13th. The other public hearing, which is the medical marijuana permit for the same property, is still scheduled to proceed this evening. Okay. Any other questions or changes regarding the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing none, I call for a motion to adopt.
This is Commissioner Jewell. I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as noted.
Okay, is there
Commissioner
support?
Campbell, support.
All right, it's been moved and supported. All in favor of adopting the agenda as amended? Please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. We have adopted the agenda. Minutes of previous meetings. We have the minutes from March 9th, 2021 that were part of your packet. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes?
Yeah. Madam Vice Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
Yes,
If we go to page 4, the 4th paragraph down, the second line from the bottom, where it says, include a scenario in which the chairperson acts as the spokesperson for, that should be the Planning Commission. And then on page 5, if you go to the middle of the page where it says resolutions, right above that, we should add staff update. And there was a brief introduction of a new staff member, Jonathan Mateen.
Okay, got that.
Staff update, brief introduction of new staff, Jonathan Mateen. And then also the line before that, where it says our next meeting and update the commission. Commission should be capitalized, capital C.
Any other changes? I'll add that I noted one, which was on page 5, and it's the last paragraph before new business. And it's just inserting the words and planning staff after the planning commission. So it should read, Mr. Stevens said that he has received a request to get the planning commission and planning staff directly involved in the planning process, and we'll follow up with MDOT. Any other changes or corrections to the meeting minutes from March 9th? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion?
This is Commissioner Jewell. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of March the 9th with corrections as noted.
Is there support?
Commissioner
Support.
Cook Hawkins, support.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins, thank you. All in favor of adopting the meeting minutes of March 9th, 2021 as amended? Please say aye.
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 And all opposed? Okay, that appears unanimous. All right, public forum. We are now at the portion in our meeting where any member of the public is welcome to speak on any matter within the Planning Commission's jurisdiction. You will find information about the conduct during the public hearing as part of the meeting agenda. Is there anybody wishing to address the commission? Is there anybody wishing to address the commission? Casey, do you know if we have anybody from the public on the line?
There is no one.
Okay, thank you. If there's no one wishing to address the commission, then public forum is now closed. Site plan review. Does not appear we have a site plan review. Oh,
Actually,
yes, Casey?
I noticed on YouTube, where we're hosting live. They said planning commission dash is public comment possible?
It certainly is possible during the public forum.
And this is from the VADA 100. Oh, they want the public calling number. If you want to announce that on the front page.
Certainly.
This is, mhm.
So the number to call if you wish to join in the meeting is 1-646-558-8656. And then you'll be asked to type in the meeting ID number. And that meeting ID is 899-4399-0043.
And then I also posted the public notice link and the agenda on the page as well, which has the information pertaining to joining this public meeting. And we also have this available on our planning and zoning page on the agenda minutes and all that page as well. So I don't know how long you want to give the question or wait for the public member to join.
Excuse me. We can give it a minute so that if there is
Okay.
somebody that wishes to participate in the public forum, that they can have that opportunity. All right, Casey, I haven't seen anybody pop in on my end. Is there anything that you can tell from your side if somebody's trying to join?
Not yet. I'm wondering if we can give them one more minute.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, we have 15 seconds left. All right, I do not see anyone.
All right, well, we gave it an opportunity for whoever might want to speak. Okay, then we will again proceed from public forum. There is no site plan review this evening, case review. So is there an update regarding SPR 20-942 Greater Flint Mental Health Facilities Board?
Commissioner Jordan, this is Bill Vandercook. Commissioner Wesley and myself went over the conditions that were put on Greater Flint, SPR 20-942 Greater Flint Mental Health Facilities. It had to do with the playground, the landscape narrative, and parking. And the applicant has met those conditions.
All right, so with that, has administrative review then been completed?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So the next case review is SPR 21-944 regarding the site plan review at 2308 Toronto Street.
Corey, would you like to? You're here.
See, Corey, were you going to address that one?
Can anyone hear me?
Yep, we hear you now, Corey.
Okay, sorry, I was having issues. Okay, so for SPR 21-944, the site plan needs to be revised to address items 15 and 30, or it did need to. We have received those revised plans and we have reviewed them, and they have met those conditions, and we intend to issue an approval this week.
Thanks for that update, Corey. SPR 21-945 Communities First.
So for this one, the site plans need to be revised to address the fire truck ingress and egress, and they need to be amended to remove the not for construction watermark. We have not received any plans. We sent an email today, and so we're just waiting on that still.
Okay. Thank you. And the last one was SPR 21-946 Secure Can.
For this one, the fire apparatus access road needed to be added to the plans. The gate to the rear of the property needed to be included, and the city engineer's stormwater calculations needed to be included. Same as before, we have not received any plans and we have not heard from them.
Okay. Thank you, Corey. Commissioners, were there any questions on any of those case reviews?
This is Commissioner Jewell. If appropriate, those that have not been updated, if we could add those to next month's case review.
Absolutely.
Very good. We will do that. Okay,
Madam Chair?
so the next, yes. Please,
Commissioner Sorensen here. I just wanted to clarify the second on SPR 21-945. What was, it was the emergency egress and the removal of the sign that, what was that, please, Corey, if you could?
Yep. The site plans that were submitted had a watermark on them that said not for construction, and the commission requested those be removed since they are final plans.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions
Thank
before
you.
we proceed? All right, thank you again for that follow-up. I think it is helpful to keep those on the agenda so that we can close the loop with that. So that's what we'll do for next time on the remaining two.
Okay.
In terms of public hearings then, we are going to consider PC 21-397, Sozo Health Incorporated requesting a Group E special regulated use permit for a medical marijuana facility at 1101 Robert T. Longway, PID 4107180005. Is the applicant present?
We are. This is Aaron Rasty speaking for Sozo.
Welcome, Mr. Rasty.
Thank you.
Would you like to start by giving us an overview of your project, please?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you for having us this evening. So our project is at 1101 Robert T. Longway. It is a building that was formerly a Huntington Bank location, but has been vacant for some time. We are applying for a special use permit for a medical marijuana dispensary at this address. To be clear, there will be no cultivation or processing at this facility, just retail sales. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. As far as our company, we are a vertically integrated operator here in Michigan, and we have cultivation and processing elsewhere, and we have other retail stores throughout the state. And we're very happy to be considered in Flint.
Thank you, Mr. Rasty. Are there any questions from the commission?
This is, Madam Vice Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
Go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of questions or inquiries. One is regarding just the status of the application in reviewing the packet. I noticed this was submitted back in September of 2020. The application form itself is not complete because there are items that are not checked off. Nor is the medical marijuana locational limitation review signed off on that. So I do have some questions regarding that, as well as I understand we received this afternoon a staff report. So a couple of different items. One is just operational and documentation, but I'd like to go back to, is it Aaron Ratsey? Did I have that correct, sir?
Yes, Aaron Rasty. I'm the founder and the CEO.
Okay, could you tell us a little bit about I'm going to mispronounce it, Sozo.
Sozo. Yes, so we're a vertically integrated operation, which means in other facilities in Warren, Michigan, we have a facility where we produce and grow or cultivate medical marijuana. And at that facility, we also have a processing lab, which means we can take the flower that is produced and produce that into other products. And we look to have a number of retail stores throughout the state of Michigan. On the meeting with us this evening is Christy Kelly, who is our Chief Strategic Officer, and they have our business has operational experience in the cannabis industry starting in Colorado back to 2009. And my history prior to the cannabis industry was in the deregulated electricity industry. So also a highly regulated industry where we had federal and state licensing, and we're actually licensed in the state of Michigan under that business. So we have a very deep team with experience in regulated industries, and have had quite a successful track record. So we started here in Michigan in 2017 as the market was switching to a regulated market from the patient caregiver model previously. And since that time, we've moved forward our business, and we're revenue generating and now just looking to roll out more retail locations. And we think that the Flint market is a very nice market, and we're very excited about the location that we have.
Okay. If it's all right, Madam Chair, who owns the property?
Currently, the property is owned, I want to say by Lormax Stern or an entity that purchased it out of foreclosure and has listed it for sale. We have a purchase agreement with them to purchase the building that is, assuming we are approved through the special use permit process and the site plan process, we would then acquire the building and move forward with submitting building plans for construction.
Okay. Walk me through. You're applying for medical marijuana, okay, for this particular one. So just walk me through. I'm there.
Oh, as a patient?
Yeah. Just
sure. Yeah. So it's a beautiful building. If you guys are familiar with it, it's there on the east side of the interstate. There's ample parking. So when you approach the building, there's large glass doors. You would walk into a very nicely sized and secure waiting room area. Within that waiting room area, you are separated from any of the retail area activities, and there would be a secure checkpoint. So at that point, you would walk up to the counter, you would present your medical card and ID, and we would scan and log you into the system to verify your status as a medical patient. And then we would have you wait in the waiting area, depending on the amount of other folks in the retail area at that time. When it would be your turn, we would then call your name and have you walk into the retail area where you could peruse the various products, interact with our staff, ask any questions, particular regarding our products. We have a very highly educated staff that would walk you through all of that. We have a variety of products that would be available, and at which time we would then walk them through the checkout process and package everything, you know, as is required by state guidelines. And then there's a separate exit.
Mr. Ratzi, thank you ever so much. This is still Commissioner Jewell. I know this is not a site plan review, but could you just give us a cursory summary of security for the facility?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Like I said, we have other retail stores in other municipalities, and we look forward to being in Flint. We follow all security guidelines as laid out by the municipal guidelines and the state requirements as well. So we have a number of different measures. The first would be that there are many cameras throughout the facility that document, you know, all of the interactions of people entering the building, leaving the building, and while they're in the building. There's a number of cameras. There are also panic or duress buttons. So if there were to be a situation that was harmful in nature, there's a number of just press buttons that the staff can initiate that would secure, you know, send an alarm signal. There would also be security guards on the premises during the days and during the evenings when it's not open. And that's, I think, a quick overview. Other than that, we're also, of course, we use the state seed to sale tracking systems and check in, you know, all of the patients as we previously explained.
Okay. Mr. Ratzi, thank you ever so much. I have a couple of other questions, but I'm going to hold those. They're basically on locational related issues. Just, you know, I want to make sure other commissioners have an opportunity to make inquiries.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Jewell.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Are there other commissioners wishing to ask a question?
Vice Chair, yeah, Vice Chair, I too have some locational questions, probably geared towards staff. So if any other commissioner has other questions and other lines, I'm willing to hold off, but I do have those locational questions. That one?
I did have one non-locational question myself, if nobody else has one they want to share right now. And again, this is probably more of a question applicable to site plan, but just to give you a sense of what my question was. I noticed that on the proposed floor plan, there is no restroom access in the lobby area. And so just wanted to kind of note that and make sure that it was intentional, that there was no restroom available for anybody outside of the retail floor space. The other question that I have, I ask of every applicant looking for one of these permits, and that is that there's certain local benefits that have been outlined as part of the proposal. And in your case, you were pretty clear about specific charitable amounts and that sort of thing that you would anticipate to be coming back to the Flint community as a result of your business. And I always ask applicants, are you aware that should this license be granted, that upon the yearly renewal, you would be asked to report on what you had actually attained or accomplished with respect to each of those local benefit agreements?
Sure. So I'll let Christy answer regarding the access to restroom question. And as far as and also for the additional community benefits in the communities we have and are operational in, we have donated, I would say, in excess of 50,000. I think it's approaching 60. So we take our initiatives, we like to focus on food security, housing security, and education. And so we have donated to local food banks, to shelters, and the like. And we would look forward to doing the same in Flint. We would be very happy to report at the end of every year exactly what measures we have taken. But we take our role in the community very seriously. And I think you'll find that we will be a leader in these areas. And we're looking forward to, proving that.
Thank you, Mr. Grassi.
And I'm happy to supplement if I may have the floor, Vice Chair.
Please, Ms. Kelly.
Thank you. So if you take a look at the floor plan in the lower right-hand corner of the general public area is an area that is allocated for a public facility. And we have been also in conversations with a local architect and engineering firm who are working with us to develop a more formal set of building plans. We have gotten some constructive feedback about the location of the restroom facilities there, and may take that into consideration as we, if we are advanced in this process, then we would look at potentially heating their council on the another location for those restrooms that might not be so public. But that is where we had intended to provide public facilities. On the community outreach front, Aaron is absolutely correct. Food security, education security, housing security, and racial justice are the pillars that our company has prioritized in terms of investment in a number of different communities. And that works in a lot of different ways. And some, just a couple of weeks ago, we were at a local church where we cleaned out a couple of storage rooms to help convert those rooms into computer learning labs for children who don't have consistent access to internet and who are still in online learning environments. In Flint, we've had a number of conversations with local justice organizations and have worked and invested some time proactively into efforts surrounding expungement clinics to help folks who are looking to re-enter into the workforce to find, and we have in our group a capacity to help facilitate expungements for people who have been convicted of cannabis crimes that are now considered legal. And we are also a community partner with the Marijuana Regulatory Agency and have conducted a number of public expungement clinics on the same issue in order to expand ability for people to get back onto their feet once they have left the penal system. And sometimes just having a record can be very limiting. And so that is one area where we have invested some time. We've also looked at food banks and servicing the community in some of the ways that we've done in other places in the state in which we operate. But what we found is that often, once we get into a community, once we start hiring inside of a community, once we start feeling the pulse of that community, that's when we really get good feedback about where the needs are. And so we like to listen to the people who are around us. We like to listen to our teams and employees and allow them to participate in that process.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Blauer, Commissioner Jewell, it doesn't appear that anybody else has other.
Okay, this is Commissioner Jewell. I just wanted to go back to some locational issues or questions in the packets that were given to us. And I'm looking at the application form itself. Just as I shared earlier, there are no checkoff points of materials or information required. There is a signature at the end on page 8, which was signed 9/15/2020, and page 9 has what is called the medical marijuana locational limitation review. And there's no signature on that, and there's no review by office staff. Now, in your packet, I think it's section 19. I may be incorrect, but I think it's section 19, where you did a number of locational area maps. But I'd like some clarification on, and I'm assuming this was done back in September. Would that be a correct assumption?
Yes.
Okay, so a couple of items regarding locational. One is there is a Cultural Center Academy, which is directly across 475 by Cesar Chavez. There is also across the street on East Boulevard, what is known as a bike path park. There is also a dock, I think, at the couple hundred feet down to the river. Also there, and I don't know the actual amount of distance, the Vietnam Vets Park, which is on the other side of the river, and I don't know how far it goes along the river itself. So that's two items. And then there's a third item regarding location. And I don't know, Mr. Ratzi, if you can actually address this. This probably be going more effectively to staff. Right across the street is federal property, known as the post office. And as you know, there are some questions, concerns on the federal level regarding certain guidelines and so forth. So those are a couple of items that maybe you could help address or respond to.
Okay, so I think if the applicant has anything that they would like to respond to with that, we'll certainly give that opportunity. And if there's anything additional that staff wants to provide in terms of clarification or background, we'll also provide that opportunity. Mr. Rasti or Ms. Kelly, is there anything that you would want to say in response?
I'm happy to lead that one if that's okay.
Sure.
So Commissioner Jewell, I'll start with your first question, which was a question about the page 9 application form that you are reviewing. And I would like to actually defer that to the city, because that's a box that as an applicant, we're required to leave blank in order for the city to complete. However, I can tell you that as a part of the site selection process, we did work closely with the city. We went through a number of ongoing discussions regarding the parcel itself and its proximity to various setbacks that had been identified. And based upon the best available knowledge that we had, we were not in any conflict with any of the identified setbacks that were provided. We might, I'm looking to find a specific document, and this is, okay. So there is a location confirmation form that was approved by the city, and that was something that was done as a preamble to the actual application process. So we did go through a site approval discussion with the city and did in fact get the location confirmation form prior to engaging in this process.
Christy, I appreciate your response. I guess then it kind of defers to staff.
Hi, this is Daisy. So I look over the GIS aspect of all the requirements, locational standards that need to be met, and gets overseen and approved by Bill. As Christy Kelly has mentioned, they have gone through the appropriate steps of getting the locational confirmation letter, which was sent in August 5th, 2020. They met all the requirements. The parcel it meets the parcel requirements, the zoning district. It's not within 1,000 feet of a pre-K through 12 facility. The parcel is not within the 500 feet of a parcel of worship. The parcel is not within 500 feet of a dedicated park. The parcel is not within 300 feet of a residential zone, which is A, B, C zoning districts. and the parcel does not aggregate within the more than 4 Group A or E uses within 2,000 feet.
Jordan, this is Bill Vandercook, on page 9. That was an oversight on my part not to fill that out. That should have been filled out, that they meet the requirements, standard requirements. Signed and dated. We verified it again tonight, 3/23/21. They meet the standards.
Well, this is Commissioner Jewell, and I appreciate staff giving a verbal update. As it stands now, we do not have any documentation to that effect.
So Commissioner Jewell is saying that we don't have documentation to that effect. I know that we did receive a staff report this afternoon. I guess I note that point, and I guess I'll first ask for any other comments or questions from other commissioners. And then we'll figure out what the next steps are.
I just have a question. This is Commissioner Cook Hawkins. I'm just really trying to get the location correct. Is this right across from Big Brothers Big Sisters?
From what?
Commissioner Cook Hawkins, it's the old Citizens Bank by the farmer's market.
By the over. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Excuse me, would it be helpful for us to share the original confirmation that we received from the city via email? I don't know if this format or process would help, but we are happy to do that, and we can send it to you, Bill, right now, if that would be helpful.
This is Commissioner Jewell. Christy, I appreciate your efforts to confirm. I'm just operating on the basis of I'm sitting here and I'm looking at documents and there are no confirmed documentations from the staff.
Okay, so I know that staff verbally confirmed, but I'm hearing that you're interested in having something in writing. Any other comments from commissioners?
Madam Vice Chair, again to staff, they're just doing the drive-by today. There is like a dock, boat dock, picnic dock directly on the river, right adjacent to the property. Does staff know the ownership of that? Is that part of the park system? Do you know the answer to that?
It's not part, I don't think it's part of the park area that we have in our calculations. That parcel, I don't think it's owned by the city, I think, that dock.
I think it's actually, this is Suzanne. I think it's actually part of the Flint River Trail. I think it was installed by a previous owner. However, the Flint River Trail is exempted from this locational requirement. We do have requirements for parks, obviously, which I think is what you're referring to, but the Flint River Trail is actually exempted from that requirement.
And also just a question on the Veterans Park on the other side of the river. Do we have kind of a locational, a number? I see the applicant has provided a number of parks, churches, and information on that, but some of the surrounding Veterans Park, that boat dock, and then as noted by Commissioner Jewell, the Cultural Center Academy, we don't have those numbers. Is there any way for staff to provide that for us?
So the distance for the Flint Cultural Center is actually 1,110 distance. So they are not within the 1,000 feet or 500, sorry. For the park, it is 500 feet, so they're definitely not within that. For the parks, sorry, not the parks, the school, they're not within 1,000 feet.
Okay,
And do we know about Veterans Park?
I can get,
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Campbell. In the future, if this comes up again, you're saying that the Flint River Trails is excluded from any other location? Because since the trail is running through the city of Flint all the way through Flint Township at that, so you think that's going to always be exempt or just in this
We can, I'm sorry, through you, Madam Chair, to Commissioner Campbell. We can actually get you the language from the ordinance because I think it's a specific section. I'm not looking at it right now, but I believe it's a specific section of the ordinance.
Okay.
I do not think it's the entire Flint River Trail. Bill, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we can provide you with the language from the ordinance.
Okay, I appreciate that because that trail is really used a lot. And over there by the old farmer's market, it's a lot of traffic generated in the spring and summer, the walks, but, everyone doing trim.
Yeah.
Right, and I know that the council just completed the work on the marijuana ordinance recently, and I think we have the version of that ordinance in our, that was emailed about a month ago that was marked draft.
Commissioner Blauer, do you have a parcel ID for the park area that you have? If you want, Flint Property Portal has the parcel ID, if you're able to. But from our standards, we know that it does not, they're not within a park distance.
I can seek out that parcel number for you through the portal. I don't have it on hand.
Any other questions from commissioners at this point? And then we can always have additional discussion after we take the public input as well.
Commissioner Blauer, is this the Mcfarland Veterans Memorial Park that you're speaking about?
No, this is Commissioner Jewell. McFarland one is located downtown, just north of the river. The Veterans Park on the river is the Vietnam Veterans Park.
Yes. It runs kind of the length of the river right on the other side of the river from this
On the west
particular.
side.
Correct.
On the west side of the river.
West side of the
Casey, I don't know if this is helpful or not, but I'm looking at some, there's maps of the Flint River Trail, and it notes Vietnam Veterans Park as being on the west side of the river there, just south of Hamilton.
I do see it. So it's right across Dayton Park, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, so that is actually 2,573 feet away.
Thank you for confirming that. Any additional questions from commissioners at this stage? Okay, if there's no other additional questions for the applicants, thank you very much for your willingness to answer questions. And I will now open it to the public for anybody wishing to speak in favor of this request for a medical marijuana retail license. Anybody from the public wishing to speak in favor? Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Casey, do we have anybody on the line? Doesn't appear we have anybody on the line. With that, this portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak opposed? Anybody speaking opposed? It still appears we don't have anyone from the public on the line. And so if there's no one speaking opposed, that portion of the public hearing will be closed. Usually ask if there's any further communications from the public, whether we've received emails, phone calls, anything of that nature. Bill, are you aware of any correspondence we've received?
No, we're not aware of any correspondence.
Okay, thank you. What is the desire of the commission?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell again. My inquiry is not directed towards the intent of the applicant. My concerns are directed towards the completion of the documents. And so I do have a couple of concerns that are applicable not only to this application, but also to the one that has been rescheduled, where the application itself is not complete. The locational limitation review is not signed or documented, and the staff report provided to us does not include the verbal conversations presented for this evening regarding locational issues. So I'm looking towards the flexibility of continuing this public hearing at our next meeting, which would allow both the applicant and staff to reaffirm the completion of the documents, both for this particular application as well as for the future one, as well as an appropriate updated staff report, which would then allow us as the planning commission to have the information documented and appropriate and so forth. So I open that for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Other commissioners?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Sorensen.
Please, Commissioner Sorensen.
I support Commissioner Jewell on that. I'm the type of person that just likes clean, complete documentation. So, you know, I would be in agreement to entertain this on the 13th, along with PC 21-398 at our next meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Sorensen.
Commissioner Jordan, this is Bill Vandercook, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Bill.
I emailed you the signed location confirmation for both cases, for medical and for adult use. But we're just dealing with the medical, so I did email you that documentation.
Madam Chair, to Bill, when did you send that? Just now?
Yeah, just so that you're aware.
Okay, so I'm
On page 9 of the application, the office use only locational limitation review, which basically just says initial review date would have been 3/19/2021, zoning district D6, use commercial. The box would be checked, meets the required location limitations. I signed and dated that.
Okay, and I can
sent a
confirm
copy, emailed a
have,
copy to Jordan.
I have received a copy of that, and I can signed, dated today, or rather the 19th is dated. Zoning district D6, use commercial, meets the required locational limitations. And it has Bill's signature as he's described.
Madam Chair, was that just sent? Because I
think he sent it just to me. I can
just
forward
you.
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think he just, it looks like he only sent it to me, but I can forward
Not
it to the others.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, I want to make a clear understanding is that, are we talking about page 6 of the application?
I think what
This is
Go ahead,
Commissioner Jewell.
Yeah.
And I'm referring to you have the application from pages 1 through 9.
Correct.
And there are items that are usually checked off.
Correct.
That are not checked off. And then on page 9, if you notice in the past, when we've received others, it says medical marijuana locational limitation review, and there is no signature of the property owner.
Okay.
And in my document that I'm looking at, there is no office use item. And then if you go back to page 1 of the application, at the front where it says for office use only, there is no notation on that. So my commentary is basically to have all of those documents be brought up to date, as well as the staff report, which was sent out by email this afternoon, which makes reference to the locational concerns that were raised, which has historically been done. So that my intent is just basically we're continuing that we would continue the public hearing on the April 13th meeting to bring all that documentation up to date, as well as the one for the next public hearing, so that each of us as commissioners would have in our hands that clear documentation. And
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Campbell?
So Councilman Jewell, is this a motion or just a statement?
well, right now we're in a discussion process.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
We're in a discussion process, and I just wanted to get the sense of where other commissioners were at. And I think it may be appropriate where we make a motion to continue the public hearing. We're not closing the public hearing. We have done this before in the past. We've just decided to continue the public hearing at the next meeting to address the issues, concerns, and questions that were raised. And then we would make a deliberation or a decision.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Campbell.
I agree. I'd like to agree with Commissioner Jewell, because we've always had, especially the very first page where it says for office use only. That is always how we know exactly which case number or that we're looking at, and that is not completed. And also on page 6, nothing is completed. I do understand that Mr. Bill did say on 9 that he did have that information. It just wasn't included into the packet. But like myself, I agree that this is maybe something we should postpone to the next meeting. And that way everything is, as Commissioner Swords to say, everything will be clear and clean like in the past. So I agree with Commissioner Jewell.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. Any other commissioners? I'll note for myself, in my initial review of the application, I also noted on page 6 that the boxes hadn't been checked under additional required materials. I will note, however, that those were check boxes noting where the additional materials were, but they were all included in the application. So it appeared that while they may not have been checked, they were all there. And I know that there have been times in the past where we needed to resolve boxes being marked, but I think that, at least in my recollection, that those had to do with the applicant confirmation section on the following page, where checking the boxes actually has a legal significance in terms of the applicant affirming their understanding of certain legal obligations and commitments. So I didn't have necessarily the same degree of concern about the listing of documents not being checked, but I certainly understand that we have a process for wanting to make sure all I's are dotted and T's crossed.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, Commissioner Jewell here. I'd be interested in regards to Commissioner Blower and Commissioner Cook-Hawkins' views.
If I may, Madam
Can
Chair.
you guys hear me? Oh, okay.
Yep, we can hear you. Commissioner Cook-Hawkins and then Commissioner Blower.
Okay, I'm really just listening to everything, and I'm really in agreement with really postponing this because I want to have more understanding myself as to all that's been said.
Thank you, Ms. Cook-Hawkins. Commissioner Blower.
I am in agreement with Commissioner Jewell's possible motion to continue this at our next meeting. I believe that there were some questions, and I think the applicant as well as staff have fulfilled some of those questions. But I don't feel that the application is complete as we see it tonight. And I would like to see it completed and we can move forward with a motion on the application.
Okay, Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. Unless there's any objection, I seek your guidance as to the appropriate transition. Would it be appropriate to make a motion for us to, I'm not quite sure of what the wording is, to continue?
Yeah, I think that the motion, I think, would have to be to postpone. I don't think that there is a motion to continue. So if that's the motion you were making, I think it would be to postpone. I will, just in the spirit of discussion before we move to that next phase here.
Right.
You know, because it sounds like with the possible exception of that we are accustomed to having the boxes where it lists the names of the documents that are required, that the other things that we're looking for are things that would be from the staff, in terms of, you know, writing the case number on the application, updating the staff report, and ensuring that people have a hard copy of what's been emailed. So in light that it's, unless I'm mistaken, that most of those items are staff items rather than applicant items, one other potential path could be to do something conditionally, contingent upon having the necessary documentation follow up from staff. So I just offer that in the, not directing which path it needs to go, but just in terms of looking at potential avenues for addressing the concerns that have been expressed. And then I see that Ms. Kelly has requested to speak, and I know that we have exited out of the traditional question for the applicants, but I think it is appropriate to give her an opportunity to respond to the questions and comments. So Ms. Kelly.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So I do appreciate the dialogue around this, and would just like to put forth a request on our part. If this commission has the ability to consider a conditional pathway forward, that would be very appreciated on our end. We recognize that there have been extraordinary administrative burdens on the administration in Flint, and we have been patiently and anxiously and eagerly awaiting this moment to be heard. And you know, we did, thank you for acknowledging, we did submit multiple versions and multiple excess copies of the binders that I believe you may have in front of you, or I don't know if COVID has prevented that, but each one of those binders came with a separate tab and table of contents, which does specifically correspond with not only the checklist items that have come up and have been discussed in this group, but also a couple of additional things that we felt needed to be included and needed their own tab. Otherwise, we would have happily just kind of attached everything into one PDF, but we felt that it would help this review process if we could make every element of the review as easy as possible by creating tabs, a table of contents, cover pages, and then the actual required and requested documents that the city had identified in the application process. So if there is any pathway forward under which we could be entertained under conditional circumstances, that would be so appreciated. We have every intention of being accommodating in this process, and would just like to demonstrate some incremental progress to keep the momentum going on our end. Thank you.
Kelly.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
Commissioner Jewell.
My concern about having all of the documentation together is that we're going to face the same questions and concerns in reviewing the 398, because the packet I have has all the same open stuff. So
I'll just hazard a guess that by the time the meeting rolls around, we will probably have some updated information based
right,
on the
and that's
discussion
why,
tonight.
and that's correct. That's why my concern and focus was to, and I'm not, and I think you attempted to clarify, is that when we meet on April the 13th, we have all of the documentation and updates for 21-397 and 21-398, which all becomes a mute issue. So are you recommending that the motion be made to continue? I was a little bit at loss for that, Madam Chair.
I'm not familiar with a motion to continue. I think the motion would be to postpone the public hearing, which essentially means that if that's the course that we take, that when we get to that spot in our meeting next time, we pick this up at the exact moment that we left it off.
Correct. So I guess I will make the motion that we postpone the public hearing, the continuation of the public hearing of PC 21-397, Sozo Health, requesting a Group E special regulated use permit for medical marijuana at Robert T. Longway, 4107180-005 for the updated completed application and related staff confirmation and clarification.
There's the motion on the floor.
Support.
Second.
Okay, I heard Commissioner, take your pick, Blower or Campbell to second that. Any discussion?
Doesn't matter, whatever. Madam Chair,
Yes.
this Commissioner Campbell, can I just make a statement? I understand there has been a lot of staff changes in the city of Flint, which is of no one's doing, of course. But in the past, when we first started this path on marijuana, we were very strict about everything being all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. And I do not want someone that come back to us and say, well, why are you so lenient now when you was not in the past? So I think, to me, everything should be completed like it has been in the past, and that it should be brought back. And since the applicant is coming back on the 13th for the PC 21-398, it would be just at the same time, and that way they would have both of them done at the same time. That's just my opinion. But we have been have not been lenient against that. I think we should stick with that, what we've been doing in the past.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. Any other comments before we proceed to the vote? On the motion to postpone then, roll call.
Hello?
Bill, are you with us?
Yep, one moment.
Hello?
Sure.
Sorry. Sorry, one moment. Commissioner Ryan? Commissioner Campbell?
Yes, of course.
Commissioner Blower?
Yes.
Commissioner Wesley? Commissioner Jewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
No.
Commissioner
By a vote
Wesley?
5
Sorry,
to 1,
I'm sorry.
that does pass, and so that has been postponed and will be taken up again on the 13th of April alongside the other public hearing for the same property. Thank you to the applicants for your time this evening.
Madam Chair, thank you for your understanding and help walking us through this. And to the applicant, thank you for your intent and your efforts and as we move forward. And again, our focus is, as a number of have shared, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. Next on the agenda tonight, then we have reports, status of permanent marijuana ordinance from Attorney Kelly Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to clarify, the motion to postpone was appropriate. I was looking for an opportunity to jump in and say that you were proceeding in the right way according to our bylaws in Robert's Rules. So I just wanted to say that for the record. The status of the marijuana ordinance.
Thank you.
Yes, it's nice when I don't have to step in. As far as the marijuana ordinance goes, the three ordinances were approved by council, as we know. I think this is supposed to be removed from the agenda as a standing item. So we're working towards getting the zoning code adopted now. The first 6 articles of the zoning code, and I know I'm kind of overlapping into another
Madam
agenda
Chair,
item.
Actually, Ms.
Madam-
Thompson,
Madam Chair, this is
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell. My understanding is we're focusing on the permanent marijuana ordinance. And that according to my notes, there was to be an update regarding the inappropriate zoning districts in the ordinance and some potential amendments and status was going to be presented this evening.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So if I'm understanding correctly, the ordinance that has to be amended is in 5164, I believe. It's and I can pull it up. It's in the 160s, but the zoning districts are listed as what is in our current zoning ordinance. So once the new zoning code is adopted, obviously all of the zoning districts will be changed by title. So right now it is where it should be because the zoning code has not been adopted yet fully. And as it's presented to council, it says it would take effect once all of the articles have been approved. So in talking with the planning and zoning staff and my department, I think our best choice is to wait until the zoning code is adopted so that we can update those zoning districts to reflect the newly adopted zoning code. It would be premature to do it now.
Okay, Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell again. Help me out. I may be totally confused on this. It was my understanding that some information was going to be put together and presented to us this evening regarding those particular zoning districts. So are we now holding on that or?
So I can maybe just jump in. I had a similar question. I will note that on page 3 of the minutes that we just approved tonight, it does, in reference to the marijuana ordinance, the plan was to get the first 6 articles of zoning code adopted before amending zoning designations. Mrs. Thompson noted that she will plan to present the amended ordinances at the March 23rd Planning Commission meeting prior to submission with City Council.
Okay.
Yep, please, Ms. Thompson.
My apologies, and perhaps I wasn't clear from before, or I misstated it before. Because the zoning code doesn't take effect until all of the ordinances are approved. Again, it would be premature to do it early because then we'd have different zoning designations in the marijuana ordinance than actually exist at the time. So if I said that at the last meeting, I apologize. I misspoke. So the appropriate time to make those amendments would be once all of the zoning code has been approved.
This is Commissioner Jewell. Thank you.
I apologize for the confusion.
All right, that's why we have more than one meeting. We can get it figured out.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. So you were going on to say, I think, about the zoning code.
Yes, and this is what I was leading into anyway. So we covered both of the topics that I was going to discuss.
Okay.
Okay. If there's no other questions about the permanent marijuana ordinance, then status of draft zoning code, capital improvement plan, and staffing update.
I don't know if Suzanne is still on the line. I can certainly give an update about this. And
I think she's still
I
with
am.
us.
Hi, this is Suzanne. I am on the line. I'm sorry, I'm driving. But I am on the line. So the capital improvement plan, I'm sorry I was not in attendance at the last meeting, but I did get an update from staff afterwards. I spoke with Jeffrey and Bill and about this, and so that I understand that there were some concerns about the capital improvement plan as presented, and I think you understand the constraints that staff have been operating under to prepare a capital improvement plan. So I think what Jeffrey presented at the last meeting was the capital improvement plan that included all of the information that he had received from several departments in the city of Flint, and there were some pieces that had not been provided from every department. And that's not to say that they were missing information. Some of those departments may not have actually had capital improvements, but given that there was a short time frame for Jeffrey to work on this, we determined that this capital improvement plan that included the spreadsheet would be what would be provided to the finance department while we work towards making sure that next year, now that we are fully staffed, Jeffrey is in the position, is establishing relationships with all the departments. We also have a CFO, a permanent CFO in place, as well as a DPW director, which was missing, that there's an opportunity, I think, to do a very complete capital improvement plan next year. Our intent is to start much earlier to provide essentially what was missing were the narrative portions, as well as a couple of the departments that did not submit their capital improvements. And again, they may not have had capital improvements. Not every department does. We try to reach out to make sure that everyone who potentially has improvements does provide them. So there are a couple that may not have actually had capital improvements. But again, the intent is next year to have a very complete go forward with the plan. The budget has been submitted. It has been presented to council, and we are, moving forward in the budget process with the intention that we will start much earlier, provide much more technical assistance to departments, and provide a much more comprehensive capital improvement plan next year. And then in terms of staffing updates, I think, I'm not sure what was presented at the last meeting. We have, at this point, we have hired, I think I heard that Jonathan Mateen, our new planner one, was introduced to the group. So he has been on board for a week now. He's a great addition to the staff. We're working to really kind of rebuild some of these systems and processes. I think that you see some of the issues that result when you're not fully staffed. So being able to defer some of that workload, have Jonathan take on some of the organizing and documentation and things like that has been, I think it's a relief to staff. We are also working on getting an intern. We were supposed to have an intern starting yesterday, but for some reasons that we're not sure of yet, she was unable to start yesterday. We are still trying to get that intern on board. We have a work distribution kind of spelled out for all of our staffing. There's now many people involved in this process, where we believe that an intern would be really beneficial to some of the organizational filing, scanning, digitizing documents, just due to the overload of documents that come in to the city for particularly the marijuana process, but not specifically. There are many documents for site plan reviews, et cetera. So our goal is to still get that intern, even if it is not the person that we thought was starting yesterday. We will be recruiting and trying to retain an intern. And so at this point, we are fully staffed with our lead planner, with our zoning coordinator, with our planner one. We are still utilizing KZ to a great extent. I'm still helping out. We are still trying to get an intern, and we still have a zoning consultant. And we are also, I'm looking to extend that contract for potentially another 3 to 6 months, so that we can continue to kind of move the positive momentum that we've had, continue working to improve our processes. And those are the updates that I have.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Oh,
yeah.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. I'd like to go back to the capital improvement plan. So do we not have a capital improvement plan for this year?
We have a capital improvement plan that includes the spreadsheet that Jeffrey provided at the last meeting. It includes the capital improvements for a majority of departments. There are a couple departments that did not respond. So the capital improvement plan that is includes a spreadsheet. Typically, there's a narrative portion of the capital improvement plan, excuse me, which Jeffrey did attempt to update some of the narrative, and he did, and we did receive some information from departments, but it is different than the capital improvement plan that was approved, I think now 3 years ago. I think for the last 2 years, you have not had a capital improvement plan at all. So this one includes a spreadsheet for the capital improvements that we received, minus the narrative portion. Next year, there will be a full capital improvement plan, including the narrative portion and the spreadsheet.
Okay, this is Commissioner Jewell again. I know at our last meeting, Jeffrey did an outstanding job, but he did know that, well, first off, I have yet to receive anything except over a month ago, an email that was an incomplete report. So I guess to make sure my documents are correct versus just a verbal update, can arrangements be made for us as planning commissioners to receive from staff this year's capital improvement plan? And according to the minutes, he did say, and as he shared with us last time, it was an incomplete report. At least we would have that. Is that something we can make arrangements for?
Yeah, I apologize. I thought that had been provided to you at the last meeting. So that is something we can definitely provide.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And I think just as a further clarification on that point, we did get an email version that would include some notes as things such as no update provided, which kind of, at least as a reader, might imply that it's not fully finished yet. So it might be helpful if we're going to be asked to vote to actually approve something, just to have as part of our next meeting packet, a printed version that would include kind of the final official. And I would just, I guess, also put out there that, if we're assuming that a non-response from department heads means that they have no changes, I don't know if there's any efforts to kind of confirm that that's true. I know that staff has made efforts to reach out to people and provide opportunities for them to provide their information, but I guess if we're assuming that a non-response means there's no updates, it would be helpful for me to verify that was the case.
I have reached out, Commissioner Jordan, I have reached out to the new CFO as well as the deputy CFO to verify that. I will also reach out to all of the departments so that you have that information. If it does mean no change, then we will have that for you at the next meeting.
Thank you. Any other comments on the capital improvement plan?
Madam Chair, I don't have anything else on the capital improvement plan, but I do want to go back to the zoning ordinance. Because I know there was a lengthy discussion at our last meeting regarding process and dynamics regarding moving the draft zoning ordinance forward. And in fact, on page 5 of the bottom of page 4 and the beginning of page 5 was the memo dated March 20th, 2017 on Imagine Flint, and that our Commissioner Wesley recommended sending the 2017 resolution memo to each council member. I guess I'm just curious as an update of where we are, how are we moving forward from that discussion. I know Kelly said, thank you ever so much, great input, wanted to get a chance to kind of formulate some recommendations.
Madam Chair, this is Kelly Thompson.
Go ahead.
In response to Commissioner Jewell, the letter that we worked on together, that was provided to council staff. So my understanding is that they disseminate the letter when I send it to them electronically. I believe they print out hard copies and put them in the council members' bins. So they should have received that letter that Mr. Chair signed on behalf of the entire Planning Commission. And then, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Jewell, are you referring to some of the discussion from our very last meeting
about process, methodology, approaches, and follow-up?
Right. So in my understanding from our discussion, there was a consensus that maybe we were leaning away from having the 2-on-2 meetings that we had discussed before. So that's the direction that we're heading. Suzanne and her staff and myself included, we're putting together booklets for City Council that has a lot of information from the Imagine Flint website. We're pulling some old memos that were prepared during the drafting process. Jeffrey Schiffman put together a really nice PowerPoint that kind of summarizes some of the information. So I'm hoping that those booklets will help council get a better understanding of the zoning code and answer some of their questions that they may have asked us in those 2-on-2 meetings. So, and really, I mean, myself, Suzanne, and all of her staff are on the council calls every night, ready to answer their questions. So I think we are in a good position as far as information we're providing to council. It's just a matter of having the opportunity to give that information to them and to actually have their questions presented to us. That's more of our challenge right now. Council doesn't always get to the zoning ordinances on their agenda for different reasons. But in terms of the process and how we're moving this forward, I think that we are very prepared and have a lot of good information ready to give council when they're ready to receive it.
And I just would like to add, Madam Chair, through you to Commissioner Jewell, we are, Jeffrey and I actually talked about this today in terms of, Kelly mentioned a booklet. It's going to be a binder again. You may remember, and Jeffrey actually found the the memo that I provided to council back in 2019 when we thought we were going to be able to present the zoning code, and then we started dealing with recreational marijuana at that point. But we are, so they have actually received the binder with all of this, was something that Adam Moore and Andy Amott had put together back in 2019 with a cover memo from me. So we're revisiting that But we are going to provide again at the request of council, as Kelly mentioned, it's a binder and it will have all of the information. I'm preparing a table of contents right now based upon kind of all of the data she just talked about. But we will be completing that Thursday and then assembling it on Friday to deliver to council all of these binders again. There's additional information that will be provided this time, but the only difference in terms of the zoning code is the binder that we provided in 2019 was the user-friendly ordinance, which we were hoping, you know, that we would be able to adopt in that form. It's not presented that way at this point. It's being presented in the form of an ordinance, the standard ordinance format. So it will look different to council, but it'll look just like our other ordinances in that format. And that booklet, that binder that is provided to them will include the same zoning code, but in the format of an ordinance, which Kelly has worked very hard at reformatting the entire ordinance. So that's the only difference, and our intent is to have those copies made on Friday, these binders prepared and ready to present to council next week. And we can give you, I don't think you need the zoning code, although we'll be happy to provide that to you as well. But we can provide you a copy of that same information. It would be our preference to provide that to you electronically because we are talking about, 9 binders for council and then 1 for the clerk's office too, and it's a significant amount of work. But the goal would be to have that done by Friday and be presented to council and also provide you with a copy, even if it's the table of contents and the attachments, excluding the actual ordinance at this point.
Thank you, Suzanne. Madam
You're
Chair.
welcome.
Madam
Commissioner Jewell?
Chair. I know Chairman Wesley and you, I think, meet with staff beginning of each month.
That's right. Yep.
I think this would be an ideal item to put on your agenda for discussion and follow-up for this coming April. And then, again, we can get an update at our April the 13th meeting. Just some food for thought.
All right. Got that noted. Any other questions regarding the reports on draft zoning ordinance? Okay, in that case, we'll move on to the next item under reports, which is the Governor's Order on Open Meetings Act.
Madam Chair, this is Kelly Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to draw the commission's attention to it's a new directive that was issued by the state of Michigan. It's titled the March 19th Gatherings and Face Mask Order. So this is set to go into effect in April, but it alters some of the current restrictions on persons allowed in a gathering, whether it's outside or inside. And so I asked for this to be added to the agenda today because there is an option for the commission to go back to in-person meetings. But I do have a strong recommendation against that for a number of reasons, but primarily because in-person indoor gatherings will be limited to 25 people. And I just want to avoid running afoul of any Open Meetings Act requirements in terms of public access. So if we were to have a meeting with quite a few items on the agenda, most applicants appear with 2 or 3 or more representatives for their application, plus staff, plus obviously the commissioners. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for public attendees. So that is the reason for my recommendation. But I can email this to all of the commissioners if they want to read this new directive for themselves. But again, the new directive will be 25 people, up to 25 people indoors at a time. So wanted to to give the commission this update, let you know that you do have the option to return to in-person meetings. And just take any questions you might have.
Any
Madam
questions
Chair.
for Attorney Thompson?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Jewel. Kelly, thank you ever so much. Kelly, I'm in agreement with you because with the Open Meetings Act, there is the whole set of dynamics that you can't determine numbers.
Right.
And secondly, you still have to do the social distancing. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yes.
Which would then mean we would have to take a look at where we meet, i.e. the dome. Then there's the logistical arrangements of maintaining that, correct? Like the distance and setting up and demarcations, where's the 6 feet and so forth. With all of that in mind, Kelly, you said that the Planning Commission has the option to move in that direction. Does the Planning Commission have to decide to move in that direction? Does the Planning Commission have the ability to continue to meet virtually as we're doing now? Is there a need for some sort of statement to that effect? What's that process?
Madam Chair, through you to Commissioner Jewel, if we're maintaining the status quo, I don't think there's any action necessary. If we
Okay.
were, if the commission wanted to return to in-person meetings, then I would recommend that that be done by a resolution and by a vote. But just to maintain the status quo and continue with virtual meetings, there's no action necessary.
Okay. Madam Chair, this might be an item that you review with Chairman Wesley and maybe some kind of acknowledgement of our intent as a commission.
Yep. I will certainly discuss that with him. I will echo your thoughts, Commissioner Jewel, and add to that I'm not vaccinated yet, and our positivity rate in the county is as high as it was in December now. So I for one am not in a rush to change course and start meeting in person. But thank you very much for that update, Ms. Thompson. That's helpful to have that guidance and to know where we stand relative to the state guidelines.
Thank you.
Okay. Any resolutions?
No resolutions. Mr.
Okay.
Gordon.
Old business then. Planning Commission member orientation packets.
This is Corey Christensen. There's been no update since last month. I'm still waiting on receiving the signed copies of the approved marijuana ordinances.
And Madam Chair, this is Kelly Thompson. I was in contact with council staff this morning, and she said that she was still working on those and would get them to me shortly. So that is still in the work.
Okay, guess we'll keep that on the agenda for next meeting then. I-475 meetings. I know at our last Planning Commission meeting, Mr. Stevens had provided some updates regarding steps he would take to make sure that both Chairman Wesley and planning staff had access to those planning meetings going forward. Is there any update regarding that?
Madam Chair, this is Kelly Thompson. I'm not aware of any updates. I will follow up with Mr. Stevens to confirm that that's still happening. And I was the one who spoke to Mr. Stevens before the last meeting, and Suzanne probably did too, but I don't have any updates.
Okay.
This is Suzanne. I actually spoke to Kelfani after the meeting, and he just confirmed or reaffirmed the point that he will make sure that Planning Commission members are involved in the I-475 discussion. So just confirming that he did share that with me as well.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, this
yes.
Chair, this is Commissioner Jewel again with another one of my many questions. I'm curious if Mr. Stevens was aware of the fact that he was on the agenda for this evening.
So I cannot speak to that. for my own self, I'll say, I think it's useful to keep the 475 topic there, to make sure that we are able to follow through on the next steps that had been previously committed to. Whether it's one staff member or how they delegate to report back on that. I can't say that we've got the ability to compel different staff members to appear, but I think it is fair to expect to have updates regarding the progress towards the items that have been previously identified.
I guess my concern, and maybe this is another item in your discussions with Mr. Wesley, of including on your agenda and discussions with staff. If I'm as a planning commission member and I'm going through the agenda and I'm looking forward to hearing some items, and on my agenda it has I-475 meetings, Kalfari Stevens, and I'm assuming he's not with us. And the information that was provided this evening is the same information that was provided 2 weeks ago. So my open-ended questions would be, that's good. So what kind of discussions have been held with Mr. Wesley in the last 2 weeks? What's the status of where we are moving forward? Is Mr. Wesley and a particular staff person designated as such? And when are the next meetings? So those are just a series of open-ended questions. I'm not necessarily looking for an answer.
Commissioner, I appreciate those questions. This is Suzanne, and again, through you, Madam Chair, to
Thank
Commissioner Jewell. I do not believe that Kalfani was aware that he was on the agenda. We do work closely together. I will make sure that he is aware that it's a standing discussion item. And with respect to your specific questions, either he or I will be prepared to answer those questions at the next meeting. And then I think that's a good suggestion to include this in our monthly conversations with Chairman Wesley and Vice Chair Elizabeth Jordan. So, but I will make sure that we are coordinating. As I said, I do work very closely with Kalfani, and I think this is something. I guess I didn't realize that he was on the agenda, but to those specific questions, we will have the answers. Either he will be there, be in contact with Commissioner Wesley, or I will be presenting an update on his behalf.
Okay. Thank you ever so much.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Jewell. All right. Doesn't appear to be any other old business, any new business. I think we handled that one already. Anything else for the good of the cause? All right.
I have one other item.
Okay.
Just related to, and Commissioner Jordan, you may have been prepared to speak on this tonight as well, but for everyone who does not know, Commissioner Jordan's appointment was affirmed at the last council meeting, so she is official in her role, no longer acting in capacity, and we're going to be working to get those other appointments made as well, but it did get approved after some lengthy conversation. It was approved at the last council meeting, so congratulations, Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you, Ms. Wilcox. And
congratulations.
When it's your turn, make sure you include a resume, even if they don't ask for it.
Yes. And specifically to Commissioner Jordan's point, a resume. What was asked for was a bio, which was what I provided, but the lengthy discussion was about a resume, and that is what the charter requires, but they specifically asked for a bio, and Elizabeth extremely quickly responded and provided that. That is not what they wanted, and that's not actually required. So, yes, that's a very good point, Commissioner Jordan, that an actual resume, not a bio, needs to be provided.
Excuse me, Commissioner Campbell. So before they approve us of staying in our roles, we have to provide them with a resume before they can vote on us?
That's correct. The new charter, I'm sorry.
The new charter? Okay.
The new charter actually requires for appointments, including staff appointments and multiple member body appointments. It requires the provision of a resume be attached to the actual resolution. So in this case, I think there was an argument that the bio that Elizabeth provided, which was extensive and included many of the same things on a resume, did not constitute a resume. And so they are city council is very clear that they want to see a resume attached to resolutions for appointments in order to be compliant with the charter requirements.
So not an impediment, but certainly it made it an interesting part of the process to have not been aware of that expectation until the meeting. So all's well that ends well. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts for the group?
Madam Chair, before you dismiss, this is Commissioner Campbell. So you was you at a one-on-one with the councilman? Did you have a presentation before them? I mean, how is this going to be played out now? Because this has not happened in the past. This is something new.
So I think in years past that oftentimes commissioners aren't necessarily present or aware when their appointments are going before council.
Correct.
It happened to be that I became aware that my appointment was being considered at that moment and hopped on the call and was able to provide enough of them with what they were requesting to address their needs. And I would just, for anybody else who was having their appointments going forward, I would just, underscore that, yes, you want to make sure it's a resume, regardless of whether it's a bio that's requested or not. You want to make sure it's an actual resume that you provide to staff and that they can make sure is included as part of the official resolution packet. So
I will just add one more statement to that, because planning and development was not aware that this was going to council either. This is typically resolutions have been prepared by planning and development and then for appointments to boards that we staff and then provided to the city clerk or city council office. How it's being handled now is a little bit different, and the city clerk's office or the administration is actually preparing the resolutions. And so we learned late as well that this appointment was going before council actually the day before. So we will try to have more coordination with the council office so that we're aware. We've obviously been, and I think that they're acting upon our request to move these appointments forward, but they are not prepared by us. And so we will try to coordinate better with them so that we are aware when an appointment is going forward, and we can notify you commissioners so that you're also aware. Council does ask that the commissioners be on the call. Sometimes then they did have questions for Commissioner Jordan as well. But I think it's just a difference in the way the process is being handled now, where we're not actually involved in the preparation of the resolution making the appointment. So I've had a conversation with the council staff, and we will try to coordinate better with them so that we're aware when those appointments are being made.
This is Commissioner Campbell. Would you at that time let us know what the length of this resume should be? Is it a professional resume or is it a personal resume? Which one?
It's a professional resume.
Professional?
Yeah, I would say it's a professional resume, and I can actually provide you with the charter language. There's not a lot of detail on what specifically is required, but I will provide you with the exact language as to what they're looking for.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I can tell you it's not a bio, and Elizabeth will affirm that.
Okay. I just need to know when to put it. the extent of it.
Yep, understood. And agree.
I appreciate it.
All right. Anything further?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, then I think a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
I hear support.
Commissioner Blauer, support.
All right, everybody. Thank you for a productive meeting. Have a
Thank you,
good rest of your evening.
commissioners. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good night.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good
You
night.
did an excellent job.